It is currently 9:51 a.m. and in conformity to the pattern of conduct, as I start recording, the demons of the City of Ontario create light activity. That's Ontario Fire that you saw gang stalking under the 7:25 a.m. fake sun, engaging in criminal summoning right here at the Starbucks, where the sun would not be present from 7:25 until, again, 2 hours later. It's at the same location, the same address, and the same city is engaged in what is the criminal misuse of emergency vehicles for purposes of surveillance, and it's also exhibiting demon possession while they engage in it. It's a matter of public corruption that they're sharing with the people of the state as they're engaging in what is light activity creation. They're engaging in what is the maintenance of presence in the path while the government's engaging in the P.O.C. So the other demon sounds the sirens and lights, and this demon, the same Ontario Fire Department, crosses path. That's a psychopathic and ongoing stealth matter, even though it's not very stealth, it's under the fake sun. But the entity is engaging in what is breaking apart, engaging in the same elements together while the Ontario Fire Department crosses path on Holt Boulevard and crosses path right here on Euclid Avenue. It is currently 9:51 when I'm starting this video. It's 9:52 a.m. What you can see at the top is the documentation on June 8th when the entity is keeping the fake sun over 706 West Holt Boulevard. That's one angle of analysis when you're recognizing Starbucks as a company is engaged in the pattern of conduct of federal group stalking and monitoring. This is where you saw the Ontario police gang stalking me today. Having the fake sun covered up is no deviation from that P.O.C. The entity is covering up the fake sun as I have exposed the fact that it's not a natural environment. And as I document, the demons who stalk with impossible light go on inside of the restaurant and maintain presence in the path while they're stalking with children in tow and crossing a path, keeping your back to me while you're stalking under the fake sun, obsessively monitoring. They're doing so under the fake sun that you'll also recognize is not over the Ovid Family Community Library like it was yesterday, and I'll show you that. The entity is maintaining the light source and doing so in a manner that's just audible activity. It's intentional. The vehicles that drive by, it's intentional. Everything happening under the fake sun with regard to what they're anticipating that I expose about them. So I'm going to show you where the entity is keeping the fake sun yesterday, as I was reminding you about what Corey Watson was doing under the 9:18 a.m. fake sun yesterday. The day before yesterday, before I came to the Ovid Family Community Library, which is what happened on June 12th. Today's June 13th, and at 10:19 a.m. I'm capturing the fake sun over the roof of the Ovid Family Community Library. I'm on the inside of the library, capturing the fake sun over the top of my head, where again, I'm not inside of the library, and the entity is going to keep the fake sun here in conformity to the pattern of conduct, where the unnatural environment is the indicator of criminal surveillance by the people of the state. They're under this hooded structure. You remember my podcast yesterday, the demon possessed, just like on Euclid Avenue when I'm inside of Starbucks driving by, an impossible light moving all across the entrance of the Ovid Family Community Library doors. This is an entity that's engaged in federal stalking. Those that are not natural born citizens, not just Latinos subject to deportation, but those openly engaging in impunity, gang stalking in the way that you're seeing in the specific environment. This is Starbucks engaging in surveillance. This is the entity that's maintaining the fake sun yesterday at 9:57 a.m. It's 9:54 a.m. The entity is maintaining this light source over the Ovid Family Community Library into the afternoon. If you'll recall, I'm standing at the side of the Ovid Family Community Library yesterday, and right now, the Ovid Family Community Library is in this direction where the Ontario Fire Department that's keeping me under surveillance, the City of Ontario, knows what I'm doing as I do it, while the people of the state are gang stalking on their behalf. And the entity maintains sirens and lights with regard to activity creation, monitoring, and it's also harassment and psychological torture. But the entity is engaging when it's keeping the fake sun. There's no sun over there, which is where the Ovid Family Community Library is. The sun is, however, in the same manner that it is yesterday at the same time over the top of my head. It's just that I'm in an entirely different location, which is not maintaining the same natural environment. But you already know that because standing on the same sidewalk after 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the fake sun is still here, where the Ontario police, the same City of Ontario, are gang stalking in helicopter when you see them flying by, just like you saw the Ontario Fire Department driving by, gang stalking in the supernatural environment. The entity is doing so with the people of the state that are maintaining, walking in the engineer light is monitoring, driving in the engineer light is monitoring, driving by an engineer light swimming inside of the venue is monitoring. Presence under the fake sun that is not at the same time over the Ovid Family Community Library is monitoring. And the entity maintained this light source yesterday at 9:57. It's currently 9:56 a.m. And this light source is at 507 North Euclid Avenue, where you're looking at crossing a path. These are demons who are pacing one body after another, after another, after another, after another. And they enter with regard to filling the venue as I started capturing images of the fake sun outside of this window right here, which you cannot see over the Ovid Family Community Library at 215 East C Street, right down there. And as I move away from the venue, that's where the entity keeps this fake sun over me. That's how I have it here still at what is 3:47, 3:48 in the afternoon. That's how I have it still over this same roof, like you saw the Ontario police gang stalking with the people of the state, the demons that stalk with light under a fake sun and just go in and buy a drink to engage in the pattern of conduct. And the entity has the fake sun here at 6:18 p.m. like I documented, where I am standing at the same exact location. The point is that the entity is maintaining the light source over me where the people of the state are targeting. And this is the same entity that's gang stalking at the state facilitating venue of the Ovitt Family Community Library at 215 East C Street, where you're looking at activity creation. That's the significance of keeping it over the venue. They're not in sunlight, neither is that sunlight that sweeps inside of the venue while they're in traffic crossing path. Okay, this is showing you what is a comparison with regard to the two venues. While the entity is maintaining a light source, this is the venue where the entity is maintaining that specific environment which defies nature. And don't forget what else I documented yesterday. Not only was the fake sun over the venue, but it remained over the venue well into the afternoon. Recall this while the entity stalks with plane activity, aware of the damning evidence. This is what you saw yesterday. Let me go ahead and get that for you. While the entity is stalking with planes. There's no airport over here. It's about what I'm doing, and you know that because the fake sun is over me. The entity kept the fake sun over me, and that's engineer light. Remember, the sun's over Starbucks right now, so there's no sun over the Ovitt Family Community Library when you're recognizing stalking with engineer light. There is no natural environment where the sun would still be over the Ovitt Family Community Library, like I documented at 2:18 in the afternoon yesterday. And not only is the sun not over at the same time like it was 24 hours ago, it remained over the Ovitt Family Community Library out of conformity with the natural environment as well, while it's still at that front entrance as I step out to get it at 2:19 p.m. This is the P.O.C. This is where the City of Ontario is gang stalking. You've witnessed the Ontario Police Department today gang stalking on video again, gang stalking in the specific environment. That's what this demon is doing while they're keeping my documentation, keeping me under surveillance. That's what the Ontario Police is doing in this video, where again, moments after I capture this, the fake sun that was already here begins shining. Okay, but you could see it in this video. It was covered up in the same location. This is where the people of the state are engaging in the P.O.C. and they're doing so exhibiting severe mental illness. The entity that is gang stalking with knowledge that they're being documented. They're gang stalking in furtherance of murder and kidnapping. They're gang stalking with an obsessive endeavor with regard to following me everywhere that I go, and also monitoring my vagina in bathrooms. They're sex offenders. That's the significance of gang stalking, and it's recognized in that environment. That defies nature. I just want you to see Hernandez, I believe is his name. He's gang stalking. You can see the vehicle and the license plate. I will publish it on to YouTube, but he is gang stalking inside of the Starbucks where I'm documenting the fake sun. That is not at the same time over the Ovitt Family Community Library. This is the City of Ontario that is even in this video gang stalking the Ontario Fire Department, the Ontario International Airport, and this is the Ontario Police Department stalking day and night, committing kidnapping on what is May 29, 2025. The sun that is over in the natural environment in Los Angeles would not also be over Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue, where the entity keeps the fake sun, just like I'm showing you the pattern of conduct, where in the direction north, the sun is not maintaining this ubiquitous presence. You see it's right here. You see my shadow here. It's not in that direction, meaning they are not looking at the sun in the same vantage point, the same angle, the same visual that I have. The entity's keeping the fake sun over the roof of the library while I am there subject to that P.O.C. And this is Starbucks that's engaging in it. Amplified audible activity inside of the walls while they're engaging in harassment, stalking with impossible light. And the cafe clears out, all right, while they're engaged in that P.O.C. The entity is engaging in a pattern of conduct and is doing so while monitoring the evidence against them. And they're doing so with regard to a lost endeavor. It's entirely defeated while the entity is still gang stalking me and will be subject to federal prison. Understand the purpose, not only what I'm exposing about the government, crossing a path, light activity, and audible activity, even as I narrate. This is monitoring, and then a psychopath engages in what is stalking in a bathroom in order to use a communication device to keep in a relevant position on behalf of the government. Most notably, the Ontario Police Department, who's gang stalking me day and night, like you saw again overnight by helicopter. The entity is engaging in a P.O.C. and is doing so in a satanic method, and that's what's relevant about the light source remaining over Starbucks and not being in a natural environment at a distance away from me where I would see it in a vantage point near the Ovitt Family Community Library. This is stalking, All right, stalking is shown in that environment that defies nature, and it's very obvious stalking because LAPD is stalking as well at this time of year where the entity is maintaining that environment. So I just want to be clear, the entity that is targeting is the same entity that engaged in kidnapping on May 29, 2025, and the entity that is incentivized to engage in this is incentivized by people like Tracy Banks. The entity that is gang stalking is incentivized by people like Jason Isaac Fields, whom I never had any marriage with, I never had any romantic relationship with. I never forgot that I've never been married to anyone, and so there is a motive behind gang stalking, and the government is engaging in what is targeting American citizens. While I'm showing you surveillance is indeed underway, and while surveillance is underway, the entity is engaging in what is targeting American citizens. And for purposes of Tracy Banks and Jason Isaac Fields, this mother and son dynamic who are having sex with each other while they're both targeting me, and they're targeting me with the Ontario Police Department, the Los Angeles Police Department, doing so in furtherance of committing kidnapping and murder, which is again what Tracy Banks and Jason Isaac Fields, the Ontario Police Department, Arrowhead Regional Medical Center, accomplished with regard to May 29th through June 3rd, 2025. And my evidence is speaking to that which precedes the prosecution of the Ontario Police Department for kidnapping. It's showing what is the ongoing overall scheme by the entity that is targeting, and those who are, again, who I know by name. I don't have to know them by name to show you what criminal surveillance is including and where you're identifying it, but it is relevant to those that are engaging in a satanic targeting system recognized in a demonic environment in concert with the government that's engaging in that P.O.C., and it is in concert with those whose name I do know, and it includes those such as Tracy Banks and Jason Isaac Fields, Eric Corey Spencer, people who are engaging in what is having involvement in my personal life, except Jason Isaac Fields. This person is merely having sex with Tracy Banks. This person is engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring, having a sexual relationship with Tracy Banks, lying on paper about being married to me, that never happened, and also engaging in what is profiting from my demise. So my being kidnapped, my being defamed, my being subject to being targeted is that which is serving to benefit a terrorist like Jason Isaac Fields, who belongs in federal prison. Tracy Banks belongs in federal prison, specifically a mental asylum, and so does Eric Corey Spencer, every other third party that are engaged in targeting me with the government. That's what's relevant with regard to the details about the kidnapping that I'm going into. And as I'm showing you, as I go from place to place, and the entity is engaged in the pattern of conduct, this is happening day and night, and it's on behalf of what are the people of the state whose name I know, who are interested in the entity targeting me. They are the entity, they are the the entity whose name I know, I identify them personally. However, this is the state of California. It's the U.S. government's criminal pattern of conduct, where there's, number one, what I've established, surveillance, which is demonic, and in that surveillance system, which we'll want to make sure is, I reiterate, the entity engages in targeting American citizens, and that's what I've been subject to. Kidnapping, murder, lying, trying to create an attachment to me with regard to a marriage that never happened is the entity such as Jason Isaac Fields and Tracy Banks's motive to establish a connection to me so that they can steal from me, so that they can kidnap me upon defamation, kidnapping by the state, that's gang stalking, and then stealing what belongs to me. That's the malicious purpose behind kidnapping. That's also why gang stalking police officers go to federal prison. This is why the people of the state that are gang stalking with the police go to federal prison. This is why the gang stalking establishments such as Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue and 215 East C Street at the Ovid Family Community Library that are not in the same environment such that the sun is in its zenith over the top of my head at the same time at both venues, which I want to remind you about again. The entity maintaining the fake sun not only at 9:50 as I'm capturing today, but it remained after 2 o'clock in the afternoon as I went into the afternoon and captured that light source. The entity is engaged in an outright departure from any sort of operation of the natural environment. The entity is doing so with regard to your ability to identify targeting. It is currently 10:05 a.m. The entity maintained this fake sun over the Ovid Family Community Library yesterday, both before now. I was documenting on podcast yesterday. I was reminding you about Corey Watson gang stalking inside of this Starbucks, recognized, highlighted by the hallmark of the fake sun, which the entity maintained in an outright departure from what the natural environment would incur, which is the sun being in substantially the same location for me to document it again. And the entity is stalking as you're looking at an outright departure from the operation of a natural environment. The entity is doing so while they're engaging in criminal surveillance. All right, so it's an unlawful threat to my life that Jason Isaac poses, that the Ontario Police Department, that the City of Ontario poses, stalking me by planes and helicopters, stalking me via the people of the state, stalking me by police departments, and stalking me literally through those whose name I know, including Tracy Banks, fake family members, in other words, and those who are inclined to target me for monetary purposes, such as Jason Isaac Fields manufacturing a marriage with me. Again, this is the entity that's conspiring murder and kidnapping, and it requires federal prison. It is currently 10:06 a.m. This is relevant context regarding the specific environment where the entity is documented engaging in that P.O.C. And this is relevant to the kidnapping that the Ontario Police Department, who is gang stalking now with the entity, and did so in furtherance of the conspiracy to murder and kidnap on behalf of gang stalkers such as Jason Isaac Fields and Tracy Banks. They're doing so, and they're still doing so, and that's what's relevant to federal prison for gang stalkers such as El Martinez, such as C. Torres, such as Nathan Morgan, and such as B. Hook. And I'm documenting the entity that is gang stalking police officers that are engaged in the pattern of conduct or a threat to my life. The entity has essentially put out a contract on my life, and gang stalking me through the police is that which is done in reasonable furtherance of murder and kidnapping. And those that I'm documenting gang stalking are subject to federal prison for it. It is currently, again, 10:07 a.m. This is P.O.C.